In this video lesson, we will be reading through the Newsela article titled Tips for Students Who Are New to Virtual Learning and completing the written response. Tips for students who are new to virtual learning. Schools all across the country have closed in response to the coronavirus outbreak. As a result, teachers and students are making the transition to distance learning. For many students, this will be a first experience using video conferencing as a tool for learning. The rules for virtual learning are a little different than the rules we follow in a physical classroom. Here are a few tips to help students adjust to their new setup. These guidelines will help them engage in virtual class time and troubleshoot any related challenges. Find a quiet place to set up. A quiet environment is important for virtual class time. Choose a spot where there will be minimal distractions. Try to sit away from the flow of family traffic. If you can, set up your device at a desk, table, or countertop so that your hands are free to take notes and flip through class materials. Prepare for class. Just like ordinary class time, you'll want to have your materials ready when the lesson begins. Gather your books and notes. Make sure you have any printouts you may need to look at during the session too. And of course, have a pen and paper handy. Finally, let your family members know you're about to start class. This way, they can be mindful of their volume and avoid distracting you. Set a goal for yourself. Begin your virtual learning time with a deliberate intention. This will give extra purpose to your session and help you focus on the content at hand. Here are a few examples of class time goals you can set. Learn one new thing from a classmate. Ask one question. Share one piece of positive feedback. Check. Are you muted? Before lesson time starts, make sure to mute yourself. Background noises such as typing, chewing, or barking and meowing pets may not sound like much on your side. Those noises can amplify though. They can sound like a real ruckus across your teachers' and classmates' speakers. Most audio or mute buttons look like a little microphone. You'll know you're muted when you see an X or slash over the button. Double check. Are you really muted? Just making sure. Practice active listening. It can be easy to get distracted when you're sitting in front of a device. Try active listening strategies. They'll help you maintain focus. To show that you're paying attention to the speaker, keep your eyes on the screen rather than looking around the room. Nod, smile, and react to what you're hearing. Even though you're alone, you can react just the way you would in the classroom. Use a pen and paper to jot down the main ideas of the lesson. This will push you to listen closely. Finally, don't let yourself browse the web. Expand your virtual learning window to full size. Don't open other windows or apps on your device during class time. Follow your teacher's instructions. In an ordinary classroom, your teacher can see if you are raising your hand to speak or share. That's not so easy in virtual learning, so be sure to follow the teacher's instructions on how to show that you'd like to ask or answer a question. This may involve using a virtual hand raise feature in the platform. It could also involve typing a message into a chat box. Practice patience during the question and answer parts of lessons. There may be a bit of a delay between the person speaking and those listening. Pause for a moment before you respond. And if you are speaking out loud, make sure to unmute your microphone first. Then mute yourself again when you return to listening mode. Stay engaged through chat. As long as your teacher gives the okay, you can use the chat feature in your platform. It's the perfect place to ask questions or agree with what your classmates are sharing. It's not quite the same as being in a room together. Still, it is an easy way to stay connected to your classmates while you're apart. Keep calm and troubleshoot. Has something gone wrong during your session? Screen froze? Bumped from the class? App crashed? Don't panic. Technical problems are bound to happen. Try logging back on. If that doesn't work, take steps to figure out if the problem was on your side. Check your Wi-Fi. Is it still connected? Restart your computer if you need to. You can also check your email for communications from your teacher in case the problem occurred on their side. If all else fails, keep calm and try logging on again. So today we are going to complete the written response by using the RACE strategy. So the written response says, do you have an experience that is similar or related to the one described in the text? Write a narrative that describes your experience and includes relevant details and is clearly organized. So to use the RACE strategy, R stands for restate the question, A stands for answer the question, C stands for cite text evidence, and E stands for explain what it means. So the first thing I'm going to do in order to complete the written response for tips for students who are new to virtual learning is I'm going to restate my question. So again, my question was, do you have an experience that is similar or related to the one described in the text? So I'm going to start by saying, I do have an experience that is similar to the one described in the text, period. So I started off my written response by restating my question. And I said, I do have an experience that is similar to the one described in the text. Remember, if I'm going too fast at any time, you can pause the video to catch up. Now the A in RACE stands for answer the question. So I restated that I do have an experience that is similar, and now I'm going to answer that question by saying what experience I have. So my experience was that, and this is where your response may be different than mine. So I'm going to write this with my response, but yours may be something else. So you can change this to fit your needs. So my experience was that not everyone in my virtual meeting checked to see if they were muted. Check to see if they were muted. So far my written response, I restated the question and I answered the question. And it reads, I do have an experience that is similar to the one described in the text. My experience was that not everyone in my virtual meeting, maybe for you it's in your virtual classroom or virtual lesson, checked to see if they were muted. Maybe you have a completely different experience that you want to write about, and that is fine. So now I want to explain why that was an issue. So I'm going to say this made it very difficult to hear what the host was trying to say. So I have explained a little why that was an issue for me during the meeting. So again, restating and answering the question. So far, the written responses, I do have an experience that is similar to the one described in the text. My experience was that not everyone in my virtual meeting checked to see if they were muted. This made it very difficult to hear what the host was trying to say. Moving on to the C in race, I now need to cite text evidence. So going back to the passage, there was a section titled Check, Are You Muted? And the piece of text that supports my written response would be this. Background noises, such as typing, chewing, or barking, and meowing pets may not sound like much on your side. So I definitely want to include that in my written response. But I also want to include, they can sound like a real ruckus across your teachers and classmates' speakers. So that's going to be my text evidence for my written response. Going back to my written response, I'm going to start by saying, as stated in the text, comma, open quotations, because I'm going to quote that or copy those two sentences exactly as they were in the text. Background noises, such as typing, chewing, or barking and meowing pets may not sound like much on your side. And after that, I'm going to do ... And the reason why I'm doing that is because if I return to my paragraph, I wanted to include this sentence and this sentence. However, I skipped one in between. So that ... tells me that there's a space in the text before I'm continuing my evidence. So I'm going to go on to use that second sentence that was in the passage that says, they can sound like a real ruckus across your teachers and classmates speakers. Period, and close my quotations. So now I've cited evidence from my text. The evidence I used was, as stated in the text, background noise such as typing, chewing, or barking and meowing pets may not sound like much on your side. They can sound like a real ruckus across your teachers and classmates' speakers. Moving into the E in race, I need to explain what that means. So I'm going to say, this means that things going on around you can be very loud and distract others. Period. And then I want to end my written response by closing it. And I'm going to say that that is why it is important to make sure you are muted. Again, don't forget, if you need to pause the video at any point, make sure that you do so. So now I'm going to reread through my entire written response to make sure that it makes sense. So my question was, do you have an experience that is similar or related to the one described in the text? Write a narrative that describes your experience and includes relevant details and is clearly stated. So I chose to focus on just the "Are you muted" section. If you want to talk about how you are doing distance learning or virtual learning and use different pieces of the article, you can. If you want to talk about different directions that your teacher's giving you, you can, or finding a quiet place, that is all fine. But I chose to focus on just the "Are you muted" section because that was something that was described in the text. So my written response reads, I do have an experience that is similar to the one described in the text. My experience was that not everyone in my virtual meeting checked to see if they were muted. This made it very difficult to hear what the host was trying to say. As stated in the text, background noises such as typing, chewing, or barking and meowing pets may not sound like much on your side. They can sound like a real ruckus across your teachers' and classmates' speakers. This means that things going on around you can be very loud and distract others. That is why it is important to make sure you are muted. So again, we use the race strategy to form our written response. This first sentence here would be the "are," where we restate the question. The next sentence, from here to here, would be the "a," where we answered the question, where we started with "as stated in the text," all the way down to sounding like a real ruckus across your teachers and classmates' speakers. That is the "C," where we cited evidence. The following sentence, this means that things going on around you can be very loud and distract others. That is where we explained it. So you can see that we did use the race strategy to complete this written response. Don't forget, you can replay and pause the video if you need to go back or if you missed something. And again, your experience might be different than mine. You might want to talk about virtual learning as a whole, but I chose to focus on that one section about being muted.